warmer from the low. Welcome to lovely Las Vegas for Coast to Coast Soups with myself, Greg Oops Peterson, now part of the VSiN Family Podcast. We've got an excellent podcast for you as we're going to be joined in segment number 2 by one of our good friends, Curtis Rogers, who does such an incredible job over at 710 Seattle Sports, looking at this great game that we all know and love of college basketball. Have to chat it up with him a little bit about what we've been seeing out here on the West Coast, what we've been seeing in general in college basketball here in the first few weeks of conference play, so the teams are standing out to them. Probably dive in a little bit on the Big Ten landscape as well, and so much more in the final segment. I'm going to get you guys picks and analysis on every game on the betting board for this college basketball Sunday as we hit some bank shots. If you have a question, comment, segment idea, whatever for this podcast, you have one of two ways we offer those in. First one is my Twitter/X timeline at Junit_81. Keep in mind, letters CM, they mean does not matter, so as per usual, please send these into the timeline. And the other way is find an Apple Podcast review. If you rate this podcast 5 stars, it is very much appreciated. And then from there, you're able to fire in whatever you'd like to hear on this podcast via that 5-star review. Well, I did not get in any Twitter/X questions today. We had a great day of college basketball on Saturday. Let's take a look back at it, try to find the trends, and try to get to know these teams a little bit better.
Games from yesterday is Greg buzzing about. Here is the rowdy recap.
Some of the top teams in college basketball looked great. Others looked a little bit shaky. UConn, they do escape with the outright win, but they do not cover against Villanova. It actually came quite close in overtime, 75-67. They do win in the extra session as UConn goes 8 of 22 from 3. Villanova 10 of 26 from the outside. Solo ball, well, he was a solo one-man wrecking crew with about 24 points in this one, 5 rebounds. And for UConn, the reason why they were so close in this game, they do win the turnover battle 11-9, but they were pretty even up with regards to the rebound battle, 42-39. Both teams go 17 out of 22 at the free throw line and keeping Villanova lively in this one. Duke Brennan and Tyler Perkins both had a double-double, 16 points apiece, 14 rebounds out of Brennan, 10 rebounds out of Tyler Perkins. So that was a very interesting matchup. So UConn, they were able to stave it off and they go to 19-1. And the lone team that defeated them this year, Arizona, well, they absolutely took a belt to rear end to West Virginia. 88-53 the final for Arizona. They go 10 of 23 from three-point range, and they hold West Virginia to shooting 34% from the floor. For West Virginia, they lose their turnover battle 11-5. They lose the rebound battle 43-30 as Toby Awaka continues to give you 10 plus rebounds off the bench, 14 boards in this one. Montejuvis Carivas, a double-double, 11 points, 12 rebounds. Braden Burris, he was the top scorer on this day with 22 points, and it was a nice workmanlike performance from Arizona. Not so workmanlike for Purdue. Illinois goes on the road, and they get the job done by a count of 88-82, and right now, they have the number 2 spot in the Big Ten, as we'll get to Nebraska in a second, but that's it for Illinois. 18 out of 38 from three-point range. Keaton Wagler, 9 of 11 from 3. Purdue as a collective went 7 of 19 from 3. Braden Smith did all he could, 12 assists, 27 points. He only had 1 turnover in this game, as Purdue actually won the turnover battle 10-3, but they lost the rebound battle 33-19. David Barosic, 8 rebounds. Tomislava Visic, 8 rebounds. Illinois, very dominant performance here. They get the job done. And for Nebraska, things were on the fritz for them early against Minnesota. They get down 6 points at the half. They outscore Minnesota 46-21 in the second half. They just keep on doing it. 76-57 the final. Minnesota 9 of 31 from 3. Nebraska not much better at 9 of 28, but what Nebraska did was they won the turnover battle 13-8. They win the rebound battle 39-31, and they had on their side Price Sanford, who gave the team a double-double, 22 points, 10 rebounds. So Nebraska, a really nice second half against a Minnesota team that has a really nice sneaky home court environment. This was a sneaky game as well. Arkansas, they get the win, but they don't get the cover against LSU. 85-81 the final. As for LSU, they go just 3 of 15 from three-point range. De'Don Thomas back in full force. He played 31 minutes, but he goes 6 of 19 from the floor. That said, they hold in this game because LSU wins the rebound battle 36-28. Pretty even up in the turnover battle, 9-8. They lost that one. Arkansas 10 of 22 from three-point range. Darius Acuff bailed the team out on this day. He had 31 points. He goes 4 of 7 from three-point range, and LSU did lead 37-33 at the half. A little bit of an overwhelming second half, but Arkansas finds a way to avoid the outright upset, but quality cover there from LSU. This was a quality cover as well. If you had old Iowa State on the road, they get the job done against Oklahoma State, 84-71. The spread actually came into a little bit of question in the second half as Iowa State was up 51-21 at the half. Oklahoma State turned it on in the second half. They won the second half 50-33, but way too little, way too late. Oklahoma State actually wins the turnover battle 18-14, but they lose the rebound battle 36-27. 27, and they did not have on their side Milan Mimosilovic, who's right now your top 3-point shooter in the country, 5 of 9 from the outside. He's shooting 54.5% from 3 this year, 29 points. Joshua Jefferson, 20 points of his own, and for Oklahoma State, just 9 of 30 from 3-point range. So for Iowa State, they get a nice convincing win. Wasn't so great in the second half, but you'll certainly take that. And Houston, who's traditionally one of the better defensive teams in all of college basketball, they gave up 55 points or fewer in 2 of their previous 3 games. They gave up 55 points in the first half to Texas Tech. Texas Tech gets a job done, 90-86, a final, 11 of 28 from 3-point range for Houston, as Kingston Flemings, in a losing effort, 42 points. You have to wonder if his scoring is a little bit of addition by subtraction right now for Houston. And for Texas Tech, 12 of 29 from 3. They had JT Toppin go off for 31 points, 12 rebounds, and typically you just don't see this. Houston just got manhandled on the glass. They lose a rebound battle, 44-28 for Texas Tech. They did lose a turnover battle, 10-6, but still had Jalen Petty go 4 of 6 from 3. Donovan Atwell, 5 of 8 from 3-point. So nice quality winner there from Texas Tech. Nice quality winner from Louisville as well, 85-71. They take it to Virginia Tech, another under for Louisville, and Virginia Tech actually goes 16 out of 30 from 3-point in this game, but they lost a rebound battle, 44-31 for Louisville. They had on their side Mikal Brown back in the fold, 6 assists, 20 points. You had Javon Hadley chip in there, 14 points. Ryan Conwell, 15. So having Brown back in there, even though he's not the greatest 3-point shooter in this game, he did go 3 of 6 from 3. That's massive for them. And then for Virginia Tech, they had Jalen Bedford go 6 of 8 from 3 for 24 points. Ben Hammond, 18 points. Nicole Savadea. So you just need more than 2 points and 4 assists out of him. So that was a little bit of an issue. And for Louisville, quality win and cover for them. Quality cover out of these guys, as for North Carolina, they go on the road and they get the outright win as an underdog, 85-80 against Virginia. For Virginia, just 8 of 27 from 3-point range, and for Virginia, they actually dominate the battle on the glass, 44-28. Caleb Wilson, Henry Vassar had a combined 5 rebounds in this game, but for North Carolina, they did a nice job in terms of their perimeter defense. For this UNC team, they win the turnover battle as well, 11-4, and for North Carolina, stepping up for them, Jerron Stevenson off the bench with 17 points, Luka Bravich, he was able to supply 14 points as well, and for Virginia, you did have Thaddeus Ritter give the team 20 points, 8 rebounds, but for North Carolina, good quality winner out of them, and this was a good quality win and cover for Duke, 90-69. They lay it on Wake Forest, as Wake Forest actually goes 14 out of 32 from 3. They just got manhandled on the glass, 43-22. Duke is able to win the rebound battle, as Cameron Boozer does it once again, 32 points, 9 rebounds, 4 assists. He's your odds-on favorite to win the Wooden Award as of right now, rightfully so. Patrick Ngagba has been very solid down low, 13 points, 7 rebounds, and for Wake Forest, they did have Duke Harris supply 23 points, but for Wake Forest just getting manhandled on the glass, that was not great for them, and Duke, they find a way to be able to get that win and cover. Also being able to find a way to be able to get a nice quality win and cover. How about what we were able to see out of Michigan State, just absolutely laying it on Maryland, 91-48, the finalists. For Maryland, they shoot 33% from the floor, 6 of 26 from 3-point range, and for Michigan State, they had everything working on this day. Jeremy Fears, 17 points, 17 assists, very great performance out of him. Michigan State wins the turnover battle, 11-8, the rebound battle, 35-24. You had in this game Jackson Kaler supply 11 points, 8 rebounds. They just continue to be one of the best defensive teams in all of college basketball, really just line basing Maryland in this one. And Vanderbilt has been a sneaky good defensive team as well. They were able to take it to Mississippi State, 88-56. After a 3-game losing streak, Vanderbilt has now restored order as they go just 8 of 25 from 3-point range. They're still missing Frankie Collins due to injury, so you want to be checking in on that, but Tyler Tanner, he made up for it with having 24 points, and Mississippi State, they are doing a terrible job in the turnover battle. They lose this one 17-9. They lose a rebound battle 36-34, and they go 5 of 26 from 3. By the way, Chris Jans has never had a team at Mississippi State that is ranked above 270th in terms of 3-point shooting percentage, and this was a bad performance for Florida. Auburn, they get it done 76-67. The final for Auburn, they only go 5 of 15 from 3-point range, but Florida just continues to struggle with their guard play. They lose the turnover battle 11-9. They go just 7 of 27 from 3-point range. Boogie Flan, 37 minutes, 8 points, 5 assists. That was not necessarily great. Xavier Lee, 3 turnovers to just 1 assist and 7 points. I have to wonder why they're not giving Irvin Klausar shirts at this point. And for Auburn, they had on their side, Keshawn Hall was able to supply 24 points, 7 rebounds. So Auburn able to get the job done out there. Also being able to get the job done, Texas, they are back, 87-67. Game goes well under the total, despite the fact that Texas, they scored 57 points in the second half. Georgia was up 37-30 at the end of the first half. Things were looking solid for them. And then for Texas, they were able to go into nuclear mode with Dalen Swain and Tremont Mark combining for 49 points and 12 rebounds between the two of them. For Texas, they win the turnover battle 13-12. They win the rebound battle 32-25, and they really controlled the tenor of this game. So that was a good, solid win for Texas. This was a good, solid one as well. As how about what you were able to see out of Clemson going on the road? They hold down Georgia Tech by a count of 77-63 for Georgia Tech. They're looking to play up tempo, but they're just really sloppy with it. They actually win the turnover battle in this game 10-9, but they lose the rebound battle 37-32. They shoot just 37% from the floor. They actually shot 9-21 from three-point range. On their two-point shots, they go 12 out of 36, so that was not great. And for Clemson, holds greater than the sum of its parts. 4 different guys had either 12 or 13 points in this game, so Clemson, they do a nice job in terms of being able to get that one in. And if you're looking at some of your top cover teams in all of college basketball, the best one entering into the day on Saturday, that was out there in the SoCon, Mercer. They entered 15-2 against the spread, now 15-3 against the spread. Wofford, they get it done 80-77 the final, as Mercer was up 43-36 at the half, but they got punked on the glass. They lose a rebound battle 40-31. For Mercer, 8-24 from 3, Wofford 8-18 from the outside, and Mercer held in there by going 19 out of 22 at the free throw line, but even though they won the turnover battle 10-11, couldn't make up for the fact that this Wofford team was able to pull in their more second and third chances, and for Wofford, they were able to get 27 big points in this game out of Kamari Holmes, so they were able to get that one. Holmes, and you've had Portland State be a really good cover team. They're now, if I'm not mistaken, 12-2-1 against the spread. They were right around about a 1-point favorite to a 1-point underdog, depending upon where you're looking, against Idaho, and they were able to get the job done in this one as they get a big giant win, this by a count of 69-66. They've been just squeaking by in a lot of these games, but for Portland State, they did a nice job in terms of holding down Idaho from three-point range. Idaho just 7-24 from the outside, and Portland State, they didn't take a lot of threes, but they hit them 6 of 13 from 3. Scary Terry Miller continues to supply for this team, 29 big points out of him, and for Portland State, they continue to be one of your best cover teams in all of college basketball. Top over team in all of college basketball, it's not even close. That would be the Denver Pioneers, as they have been pioneering a whole lot of overs thus far this season. How about 17 overs, 1 under, and 1 push thus far this season? Now, it depends upon your closing numbers. Some people have this at 16 overs, 2 unders, and 1 push, but man, it has been ridiculous what we've been seeing out of these guys. 93-86, they fall as a favorite at home to North Dakota, but they get you a nice, clean, easy over, as North Dakota 11-24 from 3. Denver, 12 of 25 from 3-point. Carson Johnson for Denver, 32 points. Problem is, team is just playing absolutely no defense whatsoever. So that has been a lot of good, clean family fun this far this season. Your next best over team, by the way, has been Miami of Ohio at 13 overs, 4 unders. They were not in action on Saturday. And Kent State has been 13 overs to 5 unders. You were able to get an under on them in their game on Saturday. That was a game that actually went to 2 overtimes. It was wild. It was crazy. 76-75. Kent State goes on the road. They get the job done against Eastern Michigan. Would have been an absolutely horrendous beat had you not been able to get that under in, but Kent State, they do find a way to be able to pull it out outright on the money line. I believe that they were a slim favorite in this game, so depending upon your line there, you were able to get there if you took points with Eastern Michigan, but certainly that was a exciting game to say the least. And then Bellarmine has been a good over team, 13 overs to 5 unders, and you did not have to sweat whether or not they were going to be able to get the over on Saturday, as both teams get past 110 points in this game. North Florida wins 117-114, as Bellarmine was a bit of a favorite, so they do lose that one outright on the money line, but that's it for Bellarmine. They were able to go 12 of 27 from 3-point range, 19 out of 38 for North Florida, the mighty Osprey. Neither team was really able to pull in there a lot of second and third chances, but they were just hitting their first shots, as Cameron Oriole, 33 points for North Florida. Every single Bellarmine starter had at least 17 points, and in a game in which Bellarmine scored 114 points, they got a whopping 8 of them off the bench. So that was some good, clean family fun out there. And this team has been another good one to the over. Tulsa, 12 overs, 5 unders. They had their game rearranged. They were supposed to play on Sunday. They had to play on Saturday. And, well, there wasn't a lot of defense between they and Rice, 87-84. Tulsa does find a way to be able to get the job done. This one depended upon your closing number as to whether or not you were able to get a cover. I think a lot of places that had Tulsa more around about an 8.5 point favorite, so should have been able to get there with Rice. But that said, for Tulsa, 11 of 25 from 3, and Rice, they go 12 of 26 from 3-point range. They combined 45 points out of Jalen Smith along Trey Bordeaux, so they were able to do a nice job holding up there, being able to get a cover, and being able to help you out with that over. But Tulsa, they still continue to be one of those best over teams in all of college basketball. So does Coppin State. Coppin State now 15 overs to 6 unders thus far this season. It's not necessarily because their offense is great. It's because they're really giving it up. They let Norfolk State, who has been outside the top 275 in terms of points per possession, put up 103 points, 103-76 a final. Coppin State entered into this game with no healthy player averaging over 8.5 points per contest. Hassan Perkins had 15 points. He might be able to help out that cause, but yeah, that's not great to say the least. And Howard has a double-figure favorite out there in the MEAC. They lose outright to Morgan State, 78-77. Howard has been a nice story this far this season, but that was a little bit of a less than savory loss for them. If you're looking at other top and bottom against the spread teams thus far this season, Portland State and Mercer have been right on top, but how about Stone Cold Stephen F. Austin and Sam Houston out there in the great state of Texas? Sam Houston, they go to 14-3 against the spread, a nice cruiser of a win and cover on Saturday as they take down Western Kentucky 73-58. The final, they were up 38-21 at the half for Sam Houston State, just 7-20 from 3, but Po' Boy King, one of the best teams in all of college basketball, he was the king of giving you 27 points, and Western Kentucky, this is a team that's dealing with a whole bunch of injuries right now. They were without their top scorer in Tegan Moore, and, well, they needed more in this game because they lost the turnover battle 19-9, so that was a little bit less amazing. And for Stone Cold Stephen F. Austin, they have covered all but 3 of their games thus far this season. They were able to take it to Lamar, and Stephen F. Austin has been one of your better defensive teams in all of college basketball. Need the offense on this day, and they had it 88-81 the final. As for Lamar, they go 10-26 from 3, but Stone Cold Stephen F. Austin, 13 out of 27 from 3-point range. Keon Thompson, 26 big points. So for Stephen F. Austin, they continue to be a cover machine for you, and this team has also been a relatively good cover machine. How about DePaul now 14-5-1 against the spread? For Seton Hall, we're starting to see a little bit of a fall off from them. As for DePaul, they're able to get the job done by a count of 67-60. They were a small underdog, so they win this game outright on the money line. For DePaul, 8 of 22 from 3 points. CJ Gunn led the way with 19 points, and for Seton Hall, they did a good job defensively, winning the turnover battle 13-10. They were even up on the glass 33-32. They lose that battle, but just unable to hit shots. They go just 38% from the floor. So how about the old DePaul Blue Demons being able to rise up, being able to provide you some covers? The America's favorite tag team of William and Mary, they're now 13-5 against the spread. They take it to Hofstra, who's also been a really good cover team for you. 89-82 the final. William and Mary, a slim favorite in this one, so they're able to get it done there, despite the fact that Hofstra went 13 out of 32 from 3. Cruz Davis has been one of the best scorers in all of college basketball. Only 14 points in this game. He had 5 of the team's 8 turnovers. As William and Mary, just 5 turnovers in this game. They go 18 of 44 from 3. Killen Barakoff, how about 8 of 15 from 3 out of him, 28 big points. So for William and Mary, America's favorite tag team, they get you yet another cover out there. Eastern Michigan, with what they did on Saturday, by the way, they're now up to 14-5 against the spread, and Tulsa's now 11-5-1 against the spread. They've been another really good cover team for you this far this season. Arkansas getting back to them with their non-cover. They're now, I believe, 13-6 against the spread, might be 13-7 against the spread, but they've been a good cover team for you. Buffalo, going back to Friday, they're now 12-6 against the spread, just barely got within the number against UMass, depending upon your closing number, because when I got them, they were a +2. In some places, they closed as a 1-point favorite. Some places, they closed as more of a 1.5 point underdog, so depended there, but they've been a solid cover team. Wichita State has been as well. 13-7 against the spread, and the Penny Hardaway era out there in Memphis, not going great to say the least. As for Memphis, they scored a whopping 8 points in the first 14.5 minutes of this game. By the time they got it going, too little too late. Wichita State, 74-59. They get the win and cover. Wichita State had in this game a 9 of 26 3-point shooting performance. They win the rebound battle, 40-36. They win the turnover battle, 17-13. And for Memphis, Aaron Bradshaw supplied 10 points. I guess that's a little bit of a good thing, but they still don't know their rotation right now for Memphis. Just a completely disjointed, sad team. So that was not great for them, to say the least. And Quakers of Penn have actually been a solid cover team, 11-6 against the spread, just unable to get anything going against the Yale Bulldogs. Yale has been one of your best teams on the road on offense all season long, 77-60. They take it to Penn as Penn, they go just 7-25 from three-point range. They pride themselves on three-point shooting, so that was a little bit rough for them. And UW Green Bay, the Fighting Doug Gottliebs, they just continue to cover number 71-67 as an underdog. They win this game outright on the money line. Don't look now, but UW Green Bay, they're now 13-7 against the spread, so they've been solid. And American, if you like American-style underdogs, they've been a team that's been able to cover about 2/3 of their games out there in the Patriot League. On Saturday, we saw some interesting action, and they get it done against Holy Cross, 76-67 the final. That takes American to now being 13-6 against the spread, and for them, they had Maiden Collins step up in a big way, 20 points, and for American, they've been pretty solid in terms of generating turnovers, and they won the turnover battle 14-7 in this game, so that was a nice quality winner there for BYU. They get the outright win against Utah, but they are unable to get the cover. As for Utah, they got down 21 points with about a few minutes remaining. They get into the back door for a cover, this one by a count of 91-78 as AJ DeBanza. He was incredible in this game. He puts up 43 points, 6 boards, 4 of 5 from three-point range. BYU as a whole, 8 of 19 from 3. Utah covers because they went 13 of 21 from three-point range. Keno Dawes was able to spy 23 points. Terrence Brown, 22 points. So they were able to do their part and get a cover, but BYU wins the rebound battle by a count of 40-24. And for Utah, they also won 11 of 11 at the free throw line. So that was very helpful, but still, that was a interesting game to say the least, with a big performance out there for Gonzaga. It was nip and tuck, do or die against San Francisco. They just barely get by, 68-66 the final, and it didn't look like it was going to be that difficult. In the first half, they were up 36-25 going to the break, and they went just 3 of 18 from 3, still dealing with injuries to both Braden Huff along with Graham Ike and Dion Graham Foster. He had to bail the team out coming off the bench. He and Davis Fogel a combined 30 points between the two of them, as the starters for Gonzaga only a combined 32 points in this one, and San Francisco goes 14 out of 28 from 3. A legend Smiley, that's a great name by the way, he was able to go 5 of 6 from the outside, 18 points. So Gonzaga currently at much less than 100%, and that was a big giant sweater out there. And then Tennessee in the nightcap, they were able to get a nice win over Alabama, this by kind of 79-73, as for Alabama, just 6 of 26 from three-point range. Always feels like Tennessee just has the number of Alabama. For Tennessee, win the rebound battle 42-33 for Tennessee. They got a nice performance out of Nate Amen, perhaps his best as a Tennessee Volunteer. 29 points, 7 rebounds. Jacoby Gillespie, he went out for 24, nobody with more than 8 points, so they were able to really carry the team, and that carries today. In Kansas, they continue to play unders, and they continue to get it done against Kansas State. 86-62 the final, as the Octagon of Doom was a place of doom for Kansas State, as without Darren Peterson, by the way, this Kansas team was able to shoot 53% from the floor. PJ Haggerty did his best for Kansas State, 23 points, but nobody else in the starting lineup was able to score in double figures. For Kansas, they win the rebound battle 39-28, so a nice clean winner out there. If you're looking at some of your worst against the spread teams in all of college basketball, we always like to take a look at the best, but right now your worst, that has been Texas Southern, but they do get the cover, so they're now up to 3-14 against the spread. They take down Alabama A&M 89-74 final in this one. As for Texas Southern, they did go 11 of 20 from three-point range. Bryce Roberts was able to go 4 of 6 from three-point range, and for Alabama A&M, they actually go 9 of 18 from three-point range, so pretty out performance out of both of those teams. So Texas Southern, they helped themselves out a little bit. This is going back to Friday, but Marquette, they are now 4-16-1 against the spread with their loss and non-cover against Butler, so that's a little bit less than amazing. Georgetown has been a team that has really been taking it on the chin as well. They are currently at 5-14 against the spread. Loyola Chicago, 5-16 against the spread. We'll get to them first because Loyola Chicago, another pitiful performance. They lose to Duquesne by kind of 71-59, so they don't get a cover here. 5 of 26 from three-point range out of them. Xavier Amos, who began the season banged up, lone guy that gave the team double figures, but for Georgetown, they're now 5-14 against the spread. They get the outright win against Providence by a count of 81-78, so they help themselves out a little bit there. And for Georgetown, it's been a rough three-point shooting season for them. They do go 9 of 25 from 3. KJ Lewis was able to go off for 26 points, and Vincent Iwuchukwu dealt with an injury for about 10 or so games, 16 points off the bench. He clearly has been a big X factor, so perhaps at Georgetown against the spread record, that's going to be going a little bit northward. For Rider, it's just been a sad and miserable year for them. They are currently sitting at 4-11-3 against the spread. I think they might be the lone team with 3 pushes against the spread this far this season, but for Rider, they came out strong against Mount St. Mary's, and then they lost and did not cover 71-60 when the final. Things were tied up 33-33 at the half, and Rider actually goes 6-17 from 3. That's good for them, considering they're a bottom 5 team in the country in terms of their 3-point shooting percentage, and they went up against a Mount St. Mary's team that's awful at taking care of the ball. Mount St. Mary's lost the turnover battle 12-8, but for the Mount, they go 9-21 from 3-point range. For a Rider, they shoot from 2-point range 14 out of, if my math serves me correct, 56. So just continues to be an absolutely awful season for them, and this has been a team that's just not been able to cover a lot of numbers as well. North Alabama, they're currently sitting here at 5-11 against the spread. The Atlantic Sun did have a lot of flipperoonies with the schedule, so unfortunately we were unable to fade them on Saturday, but they've been another team that just has not been able to come through for you this far this season. Air Force out 6-13-1 against the spread, and just another sad display on Saturday. They get absolutely pounded by a Boise State team that has not been good this year. 96-54, the final. That was rough. And then if you're looking in the Mountain West, by the way, New Mexico, 80-73, they get past Nevada. This was all dependent upon your number. I was seeing a lot of like 7.5s out there, so it was dependent upon when you bet that, but they've been a pretty rock-solid team for you thus far this season, and then we did see TCU be able to take it to Baylor. They win this game by kind of 97-90, so another bad loss for Baylor. As for Baylor, they go 8-26 from 3-point range. They actually got 21 points off the bench from Isaac Williams, but the TCU team, they've been pretty rock-solid in terms of covering numbers away from home, so to give them a little bit of credit. And if you are taking a look at your top under teams in all of college basketball, I haven't given them much love. Cincinnati currently 4 overs of 15 unders. I'm currently doing this as they're wrapping things up against Arizona State, so we'll see if that goes to 4-16 to the under, but they've been one of those teams that have been able to come through for you. I mentioned Michigan State a little bit before, the way that they pounded Maryland. 5 overs of 15 unders out of them. Hawaii has been a really good under team. I have to have this up by midnight, so we don't know if the over or the under hit in that Saturday game, but entering into that game against East-Sun, 4 overs to 12 unders for them. Bryant just continues to not be able to score whatsoever. They and Rider are tied at 5 overs and 13 unders this far this season, and for Bryant, just over the weekend in general, it was another rough one, as on Thursday, they were able to cash in under because they did absolutely nothing on offense. And then if you take a look at what they did on Saturday, well, it was another nothing burger. 62-52. They lose. They do not cover against Vermont. And for this Bryant team, they, in this game, had 15 made field goals and went 4 of 23 from 3-point range. So they continue to be able to be a cash cow for you if you're taking a look at the under on them. So that has been entertaining, to say the least. And Kansas, with the way that they were able to pound Kansas State, 6 overs, 14 unders, and then Nebraska, 6 overs to 14 unders themselves. Navy has been 6 overs to 13 unders. For Navy, they did a really nice job in terms of being able to take it to Army on Saturday. In the Army-Navy game, it was one-sided, 84-56. Navy is able to get the job done. I believe this is a game that went over the total. As for Navy, they go 11 of 20 from 3-point range. So lots of happenings in college basketball right now. And if you're taking a look at trend-wise, what we're getting in this fine sport, I'm doing this with like 2 or 3 games pending for Saturday, as it was an all-day expose. But overall for the season, the over is right now trailing the under, as the under rate is now up to about 15.5%. 1,730 unders to 1,696 overs. Favorites against the spread are now hitting at just 49%, 1,678 and 1,747. But they've been doing a little bit better here over the last 7 days. Last 7 days, favorites are hitting at about 52.5%, 179 and 162 against the spread. And the last 7 days has been an underpalooza, 194 unders to 147 overs. So that's where we're seeing college basketball right now, and that's where we're seeing trend-wise. Coming next, how about if we do chat it up with our good friend Curtis Rogers of 710 Seattle Sports Radio on Gonzaga with myself, Greg Peters, and now a part of the Houston Family Podcast. Inside Edge this college basketball season? Well, VSiN experts use CBB Analytics, the most comprehensive college basketball analytics platform in the world. See injury impact, on and off data, clutch time performance metrics, first versus second half splits, and so much more. Utilize the promo code of VSiN, that is VSIN, to get $30 off and find your betting edge over at CBBAnalytics.com. That is CBBAnalytics, all one word, .com. For anyone that is new new to VSiN? Well, I wish you a friendly hello. This is an attention to anyone that is new to VSiN because you're able to get some free stuff with our daily newsletter. It's a great way to catch up on everything that's happening in the sports betting world. It's delivered straight to your inbox every single morning. VSiN's newsletter offers picks, data, strategies for the day's betting menu, and so much more. Sign up for free today over at VSiN.com/newsletter. That's VSIN.com/newsletter and start receiving your free newsletter tomorrow morning. That is VSIN.com/newsletter. Stay ahead of the game and bet smarter with VSiN. And we're back here in lovely Las Vegas for Coast to Coast Hoops with myself, Craig Peterson, now part of the VSiN family podcast. Always great to be joined by this man, as we've got Curtis Rogers aboard. He does such excellent work over at 710 Seattle Sports. Looking at this great game that we all know and love of college basketball, he's dialed in on a little bit of everything, as we know the Seattle Seahawks, they are very much in the thick of it with regards to postseason. Big game for them on Sunday. The Seattle Kraken, there's a lot of happenings out there in the Pacific Northwest. He's got his finger on the pulse of it all. You're able to follow him on the old Twitter/X at a kid from Kent altogether. And Curtis, it's always a pleasure, my friend. Thank you.
Greg, always happy to hop on with you, talk some college hoops, especially this time of year. I saw we were just 50 days away from Selection Sunday, so it's within sight. It's within reach. I can smell it. I've got my pens ready. My brackets, they're not printed yet. I haven't wasted that printer ink quite yet because we don't know what the bracket looks like. But this is a very important stretch of schedule here as teams are kind of putting the finishing touches on their resumes for March, and always a thrilling time in the game of college basketball.
Oh, absolutely. As what do you make right now of the sport in general? Because it felt like we really had a few top teams in college basketball with Michigan, Iowa State, and Arizona. And Arizona is the team that just really continues to get the job done. I don't think that there's much debate that they deserve to be the number one team as of right now. But it feels like outside of Arizona, there's been a little bit of wobbliness with Michigan getting some tests. Iowa State loses back-to-back games. UConn, they got pushed to overtime on Saturday. And it feels like we've got that one mighty team in Arizona and like 100 million billion competitors to them.
Yeah, Arizona, I mean, they've just been rolling through everybody right now, but they're going to get a big test on Monday on the road at the Marriott Center in Provo against a good BYU team, a BYU team that beat Utah in the Holy War on Saturday. BYU ranked 13th in the country. On Saturday, I would imagine they go up a little bit heading into that game. That's going to be just a dynamite matchup between two teams gunning for that Big 12 title. AJ Dibansa, I mean, what a performance he had against Utah. One of three freshmen to go over 40 points on Saturday. Really looking forward to that. If you're looking for a potential, upset alert with Arizona, I would say Monday is a potential challenge for them. But yeah, Arizona just dominating teams every single time they touch the court, blowing out West Virginia on Saturday. Not only are they ranked number one in the AP poll, but they just leapfrogged Michigan for number one in KenPom. So it's not just the poll voters that are loving what they're seeing from Arizona. The metrics, they're loving what they're seeing from them. If there's one thing, though, that Arizona has kind of squabbled with this year, it's three-point shooting. They have not really relied upon the three-pointer that much, and they haven't really been converting at a very high clip when they do take some threes. But, hey, they went 9-21 from the three-point line on Saturday. That'll play. That'll absolutely play night in and night out in the Big 12. But, yeah, this Arizona team right now, Greg, rolling through everybody, and there's nobody that has had an answer for just the depth, the overall depth. It has been amazing to watch with this Arizona ball club.
Oh, it certainly has been, and it's going to be interesting to see who their biggest competitor is going to be, because I do feel like the Big Ten might be providing a few of them, and you're a man that's out there in the great state of Washington. I'm sure that you're going to be very intrigued to see what we get out of they and Oregon on Sunday. But that said, when I take a look at the Big Ten, it just feels like Michigan is still that number one team, but after that, it's a mismatch. Like, do you want to put Nebraska there? They're going to have a golden opportunity to knock off Michigan in a few days. You've got Illinois, who just went on the road and knocked off Purdue. Purdue has lost a pair of games at home, but they've still been rock solid, and you can go down the list. UCLA starting to play some better basketball as well. So I look at this Big Ten, and it's very intriguing. I haven't even mentioned Michigan State yet. Shame on me for that. But how do you take a look at this Big Ten landscape, especially with Nebraska, just time and time again, somehow, some way getting the job done in the second half?
Yeah, they're not going away. The Cornhuskers, I think, are here to stay. They continue to climb up in the polls. still undefeated, one of 3 teams left in the country that are undefeated. That game against Michigan, though, that's going to be a very big test for them. I don't think they come out of the Chrysler Arena unscathed in that one. I think the Wolverines are able to get them. How about Illinois going on the road, getting a victory over number 4 Purdue? Now, Purdue dealing with the loss of Braden Smith. We don't know how much time he's going to end up missing, but that did not look like a fun injury that he sustained in that one. And Purdue, I mean, they were the top team in the AP top 25 to start the season. It would imagine that a key contributor like Braden Smith, he goes down with the injury. That's going to be really tough for the Boilermakers to overcome, especially if he's missing any sort of extended time. But yeah, Michigan State, I mean, they're a really good program. I mean, you look at what they did against Maryland, just absolutely mopping the floor with them. Was not close at all on Saturday. Very impressive win for the Spartans. But yeah, you look at just kind of that second tier in the Big Ten. I'm interested to see what USC does the rest of the way. They get Elijah Arenas back real soon. He was one of the top recruits in the country. Also, had a couple of crazy offseason things happen for him. There's a near fatal car accident, and then also tore his meniscus too. So glad to see him back out on the court and hopefully contributing soon for this USC team as they're looking to make a push here over the course of the season's final few weeks here. But yeah, Washington just does not look like it's going to be Washington's year in the Big Ten. They just could not get past that really tough stretch of schedule that they had, losing to Michigan, losing to Nebraska. It is strange. I look at Washington and their history with one-and-done type players. I think we can safely say Hannes Steinbach is in that group. I believe they have never made the tournament with a single one-and-done player in school history, which is pretty wild because they've had quite a few guys come through there, guys like Spencer Haas, Tony Roten, Markel Fultz, Marquise Chris, DeJounte Murray, all those guys, one-and-done type players, none of them played in the NCAA tournament.
Seemingly all of them except for Hans Steinbach, recruited by Lorenzo Romar as well. I will throw that in there. So
Jaden McDaniels and Isaiah Stewart too. They were one and done guys. It's an insane run.
It is really insane. Like you even look at LSU back in the day with Ben Simmons. That was one of the most disappointing teams I've ever seen in my life. So they certainly are on quite a run there. As we're always on a great run. Well, we've got Curtis Rogers aboard. He does such great work at 710 Seattle Sports. Joining me on Coast to Coast Soups, and let's stay out there in the great state of Washington, because one of the most interesting things that I saw on Saturday in college basketball, Gonzaga gets the job done, and it didn't look like it was going to be overly much of a test in the first half. They're entering into halftime up 11 points. You're feeling good, but as we both know, Braden Huff, Graham Ike did not play in this game. San Francisco made things very, very interesting. Gonzaga escapes the kennel with a 2-point win. How do you take a look at this Gonzaga team right now? Because I think that right now the injury status of both Huff and Ike needs to be much more concerning than anything that happens on the court for Gonzaga the next few weeks.
Oh, absolutely. Look, Braden Huff, that was a tough one to see happen to Gonzaga. He's obviously going to miss quite a bit of time, but it was an injury that I think you could overcome based off of the depth that you had, so long as Graham Ike remained upright. That is not the case right now. Who knows how long Ike is going to be out for, but basically your entire starting front court out. They do have a huge game coming up against St. Mary's on the 31st. That is going to probably be, just one of the games of the year in the WCC. The Gales, obviously, 8-1, just a game behind Gonzaga in the WCC race. If they're able to steal that one from the Zags at the Kennel, that's going to be a major, major coup for them as they look to take away one of the final the final WCC title of this iteration of the WCC. Obviously, St. Mary's sticking around. They're going to run that conference, I think, for the foreseeable future. But that game on the 31st, we've seen Gonzaga roll through to this point, 21-1. Their only loss was to Michigan back around Thanksgiving. But I think St. Mary's, looking at this Gonzaga team without their starting front court, they might be licking their chops coming into that one.
Oh, absolutely. And the WCC, it just feels like has been a little bit more competitive than we've seen in past years as well, because, even if they are able to get past that game, I think that Santa Clara might be a team that if they don't have their guys fully healthy for that game, that could be a little bit of an upset alert game. They've been playing some rock-solid basketball. We saw them get tested twice by Seattle, who just lost on Saturday against against Pacific as well. Washington State, it's not been great for them. I'm going to call it what it is. But that said, it does feel like for Gonzaga, there might be a few, shall we say, trip-up spots for them coming up, especially you mentioned that St. Mary's game. But I do think that they need to have them back by Valentine's Day for that road game against Santa Clara, because if they don't have their guys back for that game, I think that could be a spot as well where they could lose.
Yeah, it really is kind of a three-team race right now in the West Coast Conference, and Santa Clara has had a really good run here. It's just has been overshadowed year in and year out by what the Zags and what the Gales do every single year. But it's not like Santa Clara is chopped liver in the WCC. They have always been a respectable team, and you look at what Gonzaga had to survive on Saturday, just sneaking past San Francisco. I mean, this Zags team is one that we know at their very best is one of the best teams in the country. Like, there is no doubt about that. I think if they were to still survive this St. Mary's game, if they were to get through the regular season with just that one loss to Michigan, I think you could definitely lock them in as a number 2 seed, potentially in the NCAA tournament, maybe even with an outside shot at a number 1 seed, depending on how things shake out in the Big 12. I know with Houston and Iowa State and Arizona and all those teams in the Big 12, somebody's going to have to, take their lumps. Not to say that Arizona is going to get knocked off that 1 seed line anytime soon, but there's going to be opportunities, I think, for that 4th 1 seed to be had. And Gonzaga, I think, being 21-1 and their only loss being to one of the best teams in the country, that's a pretty good resume, I must say. So I think the Zags, though, have done quite well for themselves early on, but boy, they're going to need to withstand the haymakers that are being thrown their way, because everyone's targeting that WCC, and you're down your starting front court for what's going to be probably some time. That is not going to be easy for Mark Few here in this 25-26 season.
No question about it. It is going to be a lot of intrigue, to say the least, moving forward in that conference. Heck, even Pacific, I don't think that they would be able to knock off Gonzaga by any stretch of the imagination, but playing some better basketball here themselves, as we do have Curtis Rogers, who does such great work over at 710 Seattle Sports, joining me on Coast to Coast Hoops, and I've been talking about it a lot during this interview. It does feel like there's a very big tier number 2 after Arizona right now in college basketball, and it could be one of those teams. It could be a team that's maybe on the fringe of the top 25, but just as you look at the sport right now, is there a team or two that you're just starting to feel good about? You feel like they're ascending, and maybe that a lot of people are sleeping upon that could be able to make a charge going into March?
I've been really impressed with what Cal has done this season, 15-5, Mark Madsen. It's a tough job, and then especially in the ACC right now. I don't think they're right now squarely in the NCAA tournament, but I think they can finish off things, really take advantage of that long West Coast trip that all these ACC teams have to take out to Berkeley. I mean, look, they've got Georgia Tech, Clemson, SMU, Pitt. All those teams have to still come all the way across the country to play Cal. I really like what Mark Madsen has been able to do this season and getting this Golden Bears team to where they are. I think Cal is a team that is one that I would definitely be on the watch, or I would be watching out for if I was in the ACC, especially if I was one of those teams kind of near the back half of the top 25. I'm looking at like Virginia, Clemson, Louisville. Hey, Cal's not going away. I think they're going to be very competitive. I think they're going to be putting up a fight too in that ACC tournament. And you look at the rest of their schedule, they got a really tough cross-country road trip to Florida State and Miami coming up to end the month of January. But you come home, play Georgia Tech and Clemson. You've got a road game on Valentine's Day against Boston College, and Boston College is just the absolute dregs of the power conferences right now. Cal is a team that I'm looking at, Greg, and saying, yeah, I think, if you squint your eyes a little bit, you could see them in the NCAA tournament as maybe one of those teams in the first 4, or maybe a 10 seed, one of the final at-large bids. I think the Golden Bears are doing something good. And I was really impressed by their win over North Carolina, and also really impressed by their win on the road at Maples Pavilion against Stanford back on the 24th. So I think Cal is on the up and up right now.
Yep, I am right there with you. I've been liking what I've been seeing out of Cal this season. I believe that they're worthy of being an NCAA tournament team. We shall see if that's going to be the case on Selection Sunday. And a man that is always one of the most worthy guests on this podcast, a man that does such a great job looking at a little bit of everything in this sport, is you, Curtis. Let the good people at home know what's all on tap for you and how people are able to follow along on social media and other platforms.
Yeah, we've got a lot of great stuff going on here in Seattle. Like Greg said, something for everyone. Obviously, the NFC WC championship game is taking a lot of people's attention up here, but we always got our eye on the college basketball scene, a great college basketball scene as well, with the Huskies, with the Cougs, with the Zags, with Seattle U, as they always put up a good fight in the WCC, Eastern Washington as well. And heck, we got the number 1 overall recruit in the country in our backyard, Tyron Stokes, playing for Rainier Beach. So it'll be interesting to see what he does with his college choice. Who knows where he's going to go, but always fun to follow that story as well. And Greg, always happy to hop on with you. Twitter and Instagram, like you said, at a kid from Ken is where you can follow. SeattleSports.com, Seattle Sports YouTube page is where you want to go as well. And Greg, thanks for having me on. 50 days till Selection Sunday. I imagine we'll talk a time or two between now and then, and I can't wait for our next chat.
We are getting closer and closer. It is going to be a great run up to March, and then I have a feeling that this year's NCAA tournament is going to be a heck of a one, and Curtis, he's going to be there every step of the way. A big thanks to Curtis for joining me on Coast to Coast Hoops, now part of the VSiN Family Podcast. Coming up next, a small slate but a fun slate. I give you picks and analysis on every game on the betting board for this college basketball Sunday as we get some bank shots. Your lovely Las Vegas for Coast to Coast Hoops with myself, Greg Hoops Peterson, now part of the VSiN Family Podcast. Always a pleasure to be joined by Curtis Rogers, who does such great work over at 710 Seattle Sports, looking at this great game that we all know and love of college basketball. Every single time he joins me, he lends such great insights, and did so once again today. So a big thanks to Curtis for joining me in the last segment. Now it is that time of the podcast. I give you picks and analysis on every game on the betting board for this college basketball Sunday as we hit some bank shots.
Most financial establishments close at a certain time, but not here. It is time for a side and total on every game on today's betting board bank shots.
Do note that as per usual, any changes that are made to these plays will be listed up on my Twitter/X feed at GNet_D1. We are going to be going in Las Vegas rotation order, and there will be a few skips because games like Tulane, Charlotte, Tulsa, Rice, Illinois State, Belmont that were supposed to be today, they were played yesterday. We've got some flipperoonies with the Storm. If any games get added to the board for Sunday late, those will be inserts at the bottom, so hopefully we maybe get one or two, but that said, we're going to do our best. And if you're wondering how the order is, if you're listening on the old Twitter/X, if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, in the show notes, I list the exact order and time markers for every single game to be able to keep things a little bit cleaner and easier for you guys. So let's get things started. 8:43, 8:44 on the card. Florida Atlantic is on the road against South Florida. South Florida is a favorite of 6 points total on this game. It is 166.5. I saw this open more around a 163.5, 164.5, and a 166 or less. I'm in on the overs. I did sub by total at a 166.5. You've got a Florida Atlantic team that's looking to push quite a bit of tempo. I wouldn't necessarily say that they're the fastest team in the world, but they certainly are looking to play with full head of steam, 73rd in the country in terms of total possessions per game, and South Florida is that warp speed team. They are number 2 in all of college basketball in terms of total possessions per game, and it's a Florida Atlantic team that they do experience quite a bit of drop-off with their three-point shooting away from home. They shoot 41.3% from three-point range at home, 28.8% in a road/neutral court venue, but even with that, I did set my line at a 4.5. I'm going to be one thing the point says you do have a South Florida team that they very much gamble for turnovers, top 65 team in terms of turnovers force on a per possession basis, but that leaves them vulnerable from beyond the arc. They allow opponents to shoot 35.2% from three. That's about 248th in all of college basketball. Florida Atlantic, they themselves are about 240th in the country in terms of their three-point shooting percentage defense. So I did think that both teams are going to be able to knock down some threes. That's why at a 166 or less, I am going to be in on the over, and you're probably going to be able to get some nice second and third chances here as well. Florida Atlantic, in a game played away from home, they average about 33.1% of their misses becoming an offensive rebound. That's a top 50 mark in all of college basketball. In South Florida, they do a solid job hauling in their second and third chances as well, 39th of the country in terms of offensive rebound percentage. For South Florida, you've been able to have Isaiah Nelson come over with his coach Brian Hodgson from Arkansas State. He's been averaging darn near a double-double, 15.5 points, 10 rebounds per contest, but you do have guys on the flip side for this Florida Atlantic team that I think are going to be able to match up. Now, the better of just overall scoring for South Florida with your starting five is pretty incredible. You've got 5 different guys with at least 11.9 points per contest. CJ Brown, 5.5 assists, 4.5 boards, 12 points per contest. You get 40% three-point shooting out of Joseph Pignon, who was over at Arkansas State with Hodgson last season, 14.5 points per contest. Wes Enos, he shoots 35.5% per three, 14 points per contest. Joshua Majafo throws in there 14 points as well, but for Florida Atlantic, Cannon Carlisle has been quite a bit more efficient here over the last few weeks. He started out being very inefficient. He's up to now shooting about 32% 42% from three, 87% the free throw line with 14.5 points per contest. Additionally, Devin Vanterpool, 15.5 points, 6.5 boards. He's been rock solid there. And then Devin Williams, he gives you 3 blocks, 5 boards. So these guys do a relatively solid job down low. It's a Florida Atlantic team that is a top 75 team in terms of both their own 2-point shooting percentage and opponents' 2-point shooting percentage. And so Florida has been hovering more in the neighborhood about 200th in the country with their own 2-point shooting percentage. Opponents' 2-point shooting percentage, they've been a top 50 team with that regard, and they've been one of the better rebound rate teams in all of college basketball. But that said, I do think that Florida Atlantic could be able to in there. Both teams shoot around 72 to 73% at the free throw line. You should get an up and down game, especially with South Florida being a top 30 team in terms of getting to the free throw line on a per possession basis and being outside the top 300 in terms of allowing free throw attempts per possession. So 166 or less in on the over end with Florida Atlantic made them a 4.5 point underdog. Willing to take 6+ with them. 8:45, 8:46. Tulane and Charlotte was played yesterday, and 8:47, 8:48. IU Indy and Fort Wayne. That's a game that is going to be played another day. And 8:49, 8:50. Illinois State Belmont, that was also played on Saturday. So we go 8:51, 8:52 on the card. Oregon is on the road against Washington, and Washington does find themselves as a pretty good size favorite here. You're going to be laying with them between 9.5 to 10 points. So on this game, it is 147.5 to a 148. Did set my line at an 8. I'm going to be willing to take the points here with Oregon. I do think that for Oregon, even though they are going to be missing their top 2 players in Jackson Shellset, and who knows if he comes back at all this year, and Nate Biddle, that they're going to be able to hold up because now you've been able to get a little bit more out of Sean Stewart over these last few games, and you still have 2 double-figure scorers. KJ Evans along TK Simpkins, they combine for just over 25 points per contest. Simpkins has been a 37% 3-point shooter, and Evans gives you a steal and a block per contest, so relatively good versatility there. Sean Stewart's been a little bit of a disappointment this year. 7 points, 5.5 boards coming over from Ohio State, but did have 22 points, 8 rebounds in that spirited effort against Michigan, so that's on the up and up for this team. You're probably going to be looking to Wei Lin to be able to give you a bit more. He's been a lackadaisical 3-point shooter at 27.5%, and this is an Oregon team which their biggest weakness is turnovers, hovering right around about 250th in the country in terms of turnovers on a per possession basis on offense, but they have also been a top 55 team in terms of their offensive rebound percentage as well, albeit Nate Biddle was a big part of that, but on the flip side for Washington, really not a team that's going to put you under duress. Hovering right around 300th in the country in terms of turnovers generated on a per possession basis. One thing Washington does a great job of is hitting their free throws. They shoot 77.6% the free throw line, top 25 mark in the country, and on Steinbach, he's going to be the best player in this game. 18 points, 11 rebounds, but now they're down west of the eights once again. Desmond Claude is dealing with injury. That's 2 of your top 4 scorers right there, so that means that Zoom Diallo, well, he's going to need Zoom to give you some big production. 15 points, shoots about 34% from 3, and Washington only shoots 30.6% from 3. That's outside the top 310 in all of college basketball. It really doesn't get a lot better at home as opposed to away from home. A hair above 32%, but I mean, that's not necessarily amazing. It's a team that has been country average with regards to their 2-point shooting offense and defense as well. And I do think that Oregon is going to be able to in there in a game where Washington is probably going to be looking to crank up the tempo a little bit more. They're a brisk team in terms of total possessions per game. Right now, they're checking in that neighborhood about 128th in all of college basketball. Oregon a little bit more of a slower team at about 242nd. Interesting little scenario here. I think that this is going to be close enough for a late game following. I do think that Oregon holds in there, and Oregon has been outside the top 135 in terms of points allowed on a per possession basis. They are leaving quite a bit of something to be desired there, but I do think that the second and third chances that they're going to be able to pull in there are going to be just enough to hold in this game, and for an Oregon team that is lacking some of their 3-point shooting, I do think that they are going to be looking to knife the ball inside. Oregon is 163rd in opponents' 2-point shooting percentage. You had a Washington team that they've been about 130th, so I do think that you get just enough buckets here for the over. I did set my total at 150, so like the over, and with Oregon, set them as an 8-point dog, 8.5 plus. I'm going to take those points. 853, 854. USC is on the road against Wisconsin, and Wisconsin finds themselves as a favorite here of 7 points to the last game. It is 159 to 159.5. I set a total of 156. I do like the under. Now with USC, if you look at them overall for the season, they rank 26th in the country in terms of total possessions per game. Over their last 5 games, though, they've slowed themselves down by more than 4 possessions per game, mainly because they've been dealing with a lot of injuries. For USC, they're going to be without Rodney Rice for the rest of the season. They've been really having to rely upon Chad Baker-Mazara for a little bit of everything. 18.5 points, 4.5 boards, 3 assists per contest. They do face off against a Wisconsin team that is very good in terms of not turning the ball over. Top 50 team in terms of ball security, top 40 team with their free throw shooting percentage. So Wisconsin, they do all the little things well. They're not necessarily the world's greatest shooting team, though, and this is a Wisconsin team that they can be had inside. They're 170th overall in terms of opponents' 2-point shooting shooting percentage. They're not necessarily the world's greatest team in terms of guarding the arc. And one thing that USC has going for them, they're really good with their shot blocking. They are 14th in the country in terms of shot block percentage. Ezra Usar has been able to give you just under a block, a steal, 16 points per contest. Jacob Kofi has been your top shot blocker with about 1.7 blocks, a steal. Actually shoots about 32% from three with his 7 points per contest. You've got a 7'3" big man in Gabe Dines who's able to give you a block per game. I think that that's going to be enough for USC to remain lively. And USC is a top 5 team in the country in terms of free throw attempts on a per possession basis. Now, it's a Wisconsin team that does a great job in terms of keeping teams off the free throw line. So this is going to be a scenario of something's got to give. And for Wisconsin, they're a top 25 team in terms of defensive rebound percentage. Teams are grabbing fewer than 23.5% of their misses as an offensive rebound. Nick Boyd, John Blackwell, they've done a nice job leading the charge. These two guys combined for about 38 points per game. Both shoot above 81.5% at the free throw line. Blackwell shoots 38.5% from three. Braden Carrington, he's a 44% three-point shooter. And Wisconsin as a whole, they shoot about 35% from three-point range. They're always much better with their offense when they're at home rather than away from home. And it is a Wisconsin team that they have really been cranking up their tempo this year. They're up to about 88th in the country in terms of total possessions per game. But I do think that USC is going to be able to hold up in this ordeal. And as a matter of fact, for Wisconsin, they shoot about 34.6% from three. That's more closer to 35% away from home. They're still much better in terms of points scored and points allowed on a per possession basis. They allow about 16 points fewer per 100 possessions at home rather than away from home. And this is a USC defense that they are clocking in right around about 89th in the country in terms of total possessions per game. But I do think that this USC team is going to be looking to slow it down. I think that with Wisconsin being a team that has been pretty pedestrian with regards to their interior defense, that USC nice the ball inside and they hold in their semi-line at 6. So I'm going to be willing to take anything above 6 with USC. Made a total of 156, so I'm in on the under as well. This will be the last game on the normal Las Vegas betting board before we hit the extra games. 8:55, 8:56. Southern Illinois, they're on the road against Evansville, and Evansville is a home underdog here of 3 to 3.5 points. So on this game, 142.5 to 143. Made a total of 141. I'm in on the under for Evansville. Right now, they are dealing with an injury to their top scorer in Connor Turnbull, and they just have not been great on offense in general. They are outside the top 300 in terms of points scored on a per possession basis. They shoot 30.8% from three-point range. That is outside the top 310 in all of college basketball in terms of turnovers on a per possession basis, 344th in the nation as well. As Evansville is not a fast team at all. If you look at them in terms of total possessions per game, they are clocking at about 207th in all of college basketball. It is a Southern Illinois team that's been looking to push pace. Scott Nagy, that system is a up-tempo one. He's got his team right around about 55th in the country in terms of total possessions per game. I just don't know if Evansville is able to take advantage of it. Heck, they're even outside the top 270 in terms of their two-point shooting percentage. Turnbull was averaging 12.5 points, 6 rebounds per game. Your only other double-figure scorer is A.J. Casey, right now about 10.5 points, 5.4 rebounds per game, and now he's the only healthy player that gives you over 5 rebounds per game. And now you only have 2 guys on the roster that are healthy for Evansville that give you over 3.4 rebounds per game. That's an issue against a Southern Illinois team that they are awful with their three-point shooting. This Southern Illinois team is shooting about 27.7% from three-point range. That's a bottom 30 mark in all of college basketball. As a matter of fact, that's a bottom 20 mark in all of college basketball, but they're 7th in the country in terms of percentage of their shots that come from inside the arc, so they know what they are. They're at 125th in the country with regards to that two-point shooting percentage. Ron House is your lone double-figure scorer, 13.5 points per contest, and really the lone guy on the roster that shoots above 31.5% for three is Damian Mayo. He's been able to give you about 8.5 points per contest, but team by committee has been able to do a relatively solid job on glass. They do turn over the ball quite a bit. 222nd is Southern Illinois in terms of turnovers on a per possession basis on offense, but they're not the world's worst team in terms of generating turnovers on defense. I'm not going to call them amazing, but you've got an Evansville team that they really don't force the issue, so that is going to be a kryptonite that is not really going to be haunting this team. For Evansville, they are outside the top 175 in terms of turnovers generated on a per possession basis. Meanwhile, you've got a Southern Illinois team that they clock in the top 160 in the country with this regard, so I do think that they're going to be able to crank up the tempo a little bit more. You've got Rollins Alagibi along with Prince Alagibi, so Alagibi squared, combining for about 16 points per contest. Down low, these guys are combining for 12 rebounds per game. Drew Steffi has been able to give you about 10 points per game. I think that that's going to be enough to get it done, and for the Southern Illinois team, they are just 343rd in the country in terms of free throw shooting percentage. That could be a little bit of a, shall we say, issue in a tight spot, but Evansville, they only shoot about 71% at the free throw line themselves, and Evansville does not do a great job in terms of getting to the free throw line, so a circumstance where I'm going to be in on the under, so I total at a 141, and we'll lay up to 4.5 in Southern Illinois, made them a 5-point favorite. Now we hit the extra games.
The normal betting board picks are complete, but there are some extra games today, so we go into the bonus.
Unfortunately, all but one game in the NEC got postponed. We had a lot of movement as I record this, so you'll notice this is a little bit of an insert, but 306-583, 306-584, Chicago State, they're on the road against Mercyhurst. Mercyhurst is a favorite of 9.5 to 10 points, 130.5 to 131.5 is the total. Made my total 130, so I'm in on the under. You've got a Mercyhurst team that is one of the slowest teams in all of college basketball. Chicago State, mid-tempo team. Chicago State is about 203rd in terms of total possessions per game. Mercyhurst to 355th, and it's a Mercyhurst team that doesn't put a whole heck of a lot of points up on the board. They're about 312th in the country in terms of points per possession. Chicago State even worse. Chicago State 354th in the country in terms of points per possession, and it's a Mercyhurst team that they just, for lack of a better term, they do a good job of sucking the life out of you. They are 43rd in the country in terms of turnovers generated on a per possession basis. They really don't allow a lot of easy buckets. You look at them in terms of just raw points allowed on a per possession basis, 118th in the country. Chicago State is 336th, and Chicago State is not going to be able to exploit the main kryptonite that you've got for Mercyhurst. Mercyhurst is not a big team. You really don't have anyone that's above like 6'8" or so. That's giving you good production, as Michaelis Ivanauskas is able to give you 8.5 points, 5.5 rebounds per game. Kadir Martin, as a little bit of a smaller 6'5" big man, he's actually giving you 2.5 blocks, 6.5 rebounds per game. And then Bernie Blunt leads the backcourt, 16 points per game. He shoots 36.5% from three. Mercyhurst, they are a team that shoots about 32.5% from three. They're outside the top 250 with regards to their own 2-point shooting percentage, but this is a Chicago State team that out of 365 Division I teams, if you include Division I and non-D1 games, they're in the bottom two in both their own 2-point shooting percentage and opponents' 2-point shooting percentage, so they're going to be had down low. It's a Chicago State team that has actually been quite decent in terms of generating turnovers, in terms of turnovers forced on a per possession basis. This Chicago State team is 63rd in the country, so I do think that you're going to get a lot of sloppiness in this game, but for Chicago State, they just simply don't hold up down low. Right now, your top rebounder for this team is CJ Ray with about 4.1 boards, 12.5 points per game. Stephen Byard has also been able to give you about 4 rebounds per game. Has been dealing with a little bit of injury, though. He's probably going to be out of the fold once again. Went out in that Lemoyne game about a week or so ago and did not return in the team's previous game. CJ Ray does give you 12.5 points per contest, but Chicago State only shoots 31% from three. They are no good down low. They themselves outside the top 175 in terms of ball security. I think that you get a slog of a game that Mercyhurst is able to cover. I set Mercyhurst as a 10-point favorite, so one way up to 9.5 and in on the underside, my total at a 130. And if you do like hearing from this fine podcast, Go Seems, you're able to subscribe wherever your podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Spotify, Stitcher, and TuneIn. If you have a question, comment, segment idea, whatever you for this podcast, you have one of two ways we offer those in. First one is my Twitter/X timeline at gunit_D1. Keep in mind, letters CM, they mean does not matter, so as per usual, please do send these into the timeline. And the other way is find an Apple Podcast review. If you rate this podcast 5 stars, it's very much appreciated. From there, you're able to fire in whatever you'd like to hear on this podcast via that 5-star review. I'm with you guys every single day on this podcast. Give you picks and analysis on every game, every day. So I'll be back with you once again tomorrow. Thank you.